Hello friends, today we are going to discuss the revenge tragedy, that is the milestone in the history of English drama. When we read these revenge tragedies as the modern readers, we are astonished, we are puzzled because those are overloaded with brutality, gross cruelty, bloodshed, gross violence, immortality, and heinous philosophy of life. Actually, revenge tragedy enjoyed great popularity during the 17th century. When the delicate tragedies were exposed, the struggle and passions in the human mind. When the classical tragedies explored the human soul. When the human mind was presented on the stage as the battlefield of inner psyche. It was during the same period the revenge tragedy concentrated on the external action, physical horror, and so on. The revenge tragedy, as its name implies, is a tragic play in which the tragedy results from the revenge that is taken. Now, this kind of tragedy had its origin in the ancient Greece. The tragedies of Sophocles and Euripides. However, the tragedies of Sophocles and Euripides presented the inner action of the characters. Those lacked those elements of horror, terror, and sensational external tortures, which are marked features of the Elizabethan tragedy. It was Seneca, the great tragic dramatist of ancient Rome, who introduced the element of horror in the revenge play. Seneca owed the themes of revenge, ghosts, horrors, etc. The popularity of revenge tragedy was also due to Elizabethan interest in abnormal psychology and love of melancholy. No wonder that the form proved popular and men of such diverse genius such as Thomas Gage, Marston, Shakespeare the Great, Webster, Turner were tempted to contribute to this form. The revenge tragedy of this period was influenced by two major sources. Number one, Seneca, the Melodramatist, and number two, Niccolo Machiavelli, the writer of The Prince. Let us see the first one, Seneca. Lucius Seneca was the teacher and guide of Nero, the Roman Empire. Seneca wrote works on moral philosophy and a number of tragedies in a rhetorical style. These powerful tragedies were not meant to be enacted on the stage. Those were written in the extreme rhetorical style and were recited in the theatre. Only 10 out of them survive with us. Senecan tragedies were translated into English by Jasper Heywood and others. Let us see 10 survived tragedies, Senecan tragedies, one by one. First is Octavia, then Hercules Otius, Hercules Ferens, the Phoenice, the Agamemnon, the Troades, the Medea, the Phaedra, the Oedipus, and Thestus. All these tragedies are revenge tragedies. Written in Latin, they are based on familiar Greek mythologies. These plays are full of horror, high-pitched dialogues, bombastic dialogue, morality, moral tone, and the rhetoric in the basic nature. The pre-Shakespearean dramatist found the Senecan play very much suitable to the needs of their audiences. Next one, Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolo Machiavelli was the second source of the inspiration for the Elizabethans. Actually, Machiavelli was misunderstood by the French translator who introduced him to the English readers. During the Elizabethan period, Machiavelli had become the name for wickedness, corruption, hypocrisy, even murder, extortion, and tortures. The new generation widely read and studied The Prince, his book, as the holy book. Machiavelli was misunderstood as the source of materialistic and satanic interpretation of the world order. Spiritual and moral order of the world was rejected by him. It was not God, but Satan who was the supreme power, according to Machiavelli. The teaching of Machiavelli resulted in the wide faith in evil, corruption, cruelty, and all the evil ways to achieve the worldly prosperity. General content of the Prince are mentioned in 10 commandments. If possible, read the 10 commandments presented by Machiavelli in his The Prince. Those are really horrible and full of corruption. Now let us see the revenge tragedy. There is the typical development of the story and the plot of his plays, which was followed by the university wits. Some murder is already committed before the beginning of the play. The ghost of the dead man appears on the stage again and again, seeking justice, screaming for justice and justice. Revenge is taken as the sacred duty, holy duty. Sacred duty must be observed by the avenger. One cannot deny it. And if one tries to deny it, he has to pay for it. Hamlet is the best example because Hamlet tries to avoid the responsibility. Next one is the story develops through bloodshed, horrors, physical tortures. The dramatist uses number of sensational and melodramatic scenes to develop the story. One more important thing that the ghost of the dead man appears on the stage again and again seeking justice. And the impression is created that whatever you are going to watch, the development of story is the result of the ghost and his supernatural powers. Sympathy is aroused for the hero, the avenger. And the central horrible actions or crimes are generally performed by the rascal servant with the Machiavellian villainy. During the post-Elizabethan drama or after Shakespeare, you will find out the entry of Machiavellian villain. And Machiavellian villain has all those qualities, features of Machiavellian philosophy. Now let us see the beginning and development of revenge tragedy in English. Gorboduc, written by Machiavelli, was the first English tragedy which was modeled, designed after Senecan tragedy. It was poor imitation of Seneca, but it fired the imagination of pre-Elizabethan dramatists, and it became immense popular on the stage. Ready-made, full of, instead of internal action, inner action, Seneca provided the facility to present external action. Thomas Key wrote the famous plays under the influence of Seneca. His The Spanish Tragedy at once became too much popular on the English stage. It was the first effective tragedy in Senecan style. The atmosphere of the Spanish tragedy is full of terror, gloom, horror. Horrible crimes pile upon monstrous crimes. The story develops according to the Senecan rhythm of the play. The stage is littered with the dead bodies. The Spanish tragedy continuously influenced the English drama. Keats' other well-known works are Solomon and Perseda and a last play, Hamlet. Then comes Shakespeare the Great. The greatest dramatist perfected his dramatic skills through popular revenge tragedies. His early play, The Titus Andronicus, was presented with all possible melodramatic elements: horrors, terror, violence, bloodshed, rape, blah blah blah. His greatest tragedy, Hamlet, was designed on the Spanish tragedy written by Thomas Kyd. It is the revenge tragedy which Shakespeare raises to the level of polished tragedy. You will easily understand the difference in between inner conflict and external conflict, melodrama and real tragedy. If you read Hamlet, which is originally the classical tragedy. The revenge motive is the basis of Hamlet, and there is much crude, melodramatic and sensational. However, various soliloquies and touch of Midas, Shakespeare's touch, alters the melodrama into great tragedy. Soon after Shakespeare, revenge tragedy degenerated into crude melodrama. When Shakespeare retired from the stage, it was crude melodrama. Series of bloodshed, horror after horrors, murders after murders, crimes after crimes were presented on the stage only to attract the audiences and to satisfy their increasing demand of more and more bloodshed, more and more violence. There are some notable examples of the revenge tragedy. Let us see one by one. First is John Marston. Marston wrote two great revenge tragedies under the influence of Seneca. These are Antonio's Revenge and Antonio and Melida. These plays are nothing but imitation of Senecan themes and the Spanish tragedy in general. There is much cruelty, brutality and violence and so on. These plays show no originality. However, those were popular on the post-Elizabethan stage. Then we turn to Turner. Turner was also influenced by Spanish tragedy, and his plays are Revenger's Tragedy and the Atheist Tragedy. Both these tragedies present the Italian background. Most important thing that those plays present the underground criminal world, bloodshed, and all the possible violence related with underground criminal activity. The theme of revenge and punishment is there. The action moves very rapidly, swiftly, and punishment is rewarded to the criminals. He presents murder and bloodshed only to provide thrills and sensations to the degenerated taste of the audiences. We should not forget that during the post-Elizabethan period, the taste of the audience was also degenerated. Then we come to the greatest post-Elizabethan dramatist, John Webster. He was the greatest figure among the Jacobean dramatists. He is usually compared with Shakespeare for his tremendous dramatic skill. He has left behind him number of plays, but only two plays we are going to discuss here, The White Devil and The Duchess of Malfi. These are the greatest works, plays presented on the post-Elizabethan stage. These are really immortal work of art, and they will be definitely read and enjoyed as long as English language survives and lasts. Let us see what are the characteristics of Duchess of Malfi. It presents the free exploitation of crude and physical horror. The play presents the dance of the madman, presentation of dead man's hand to the wife of a dead man, use of wax figures, the tomb maker, poisoning, etc., etc., etc. There are a number of murders committed through various cruel ways. There is also a Machiavellian villain, malcontent servant. Webster used the crude physical horror which becomes the integral part of the tragedy. He raises the revenge tragedy to the level of pure polished tragedy. There are melodramatic elements, no matter, but definitely he gets the chance to explore the inner working mind of the characters, the soul, tortured soul, suffering soul of the characters. Then we come to the most horrible play, The White Devil. It is also designed according to the traditional revenge tragedy. The play presents the gross immorality of the period and the influence of Machiavellian philosophy. The play also presents murders illicit extramarital sexual relations. A brother becomes a pimp of a real sister. A Machiavellian malcontent servant is there. There are a number of thrilling and sensational scenes. Webster raises this play also to the finest tragedy. While reading The Duchess of Malfi and The White Devil, we experience the horror. These two plays are among the finest masterpieces of the Elizabethan or post-Elizabethan drama in general. Webster is the true master of the moral vision and superb poetry. There is increase of immortality in the play. There was a tremendous use of unnatural and unpleasant themes presented on the stage. Immoral themes like incest relationship, sexual immorality were freely presented on the stage. Fraud presented the incestuous love of a brother and sister in his play. It is pity that she is a whore. That is why, when the Puritan Revolution began, the moralists closed down the theatres. The dramatists were responsible for it. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.